My hands are dirty too. What are you afraid of? The answer to that, Han, is sometimes everything and sometimes absolutely nothing. And there kind of in lies the problem. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Wine&Reason. I am Julie. I'm going to try and get myself kind of in frame, but this is also a very... Don't look. Okay, there we go. Very laissez-faire, last-minute pseudo Princess Leia costume because I worked all day, and then Junk Shop came in and said, "Hey, you should probably change your thumbnail because you might get a copyright strike." And I was like, "Damn it! I don't have buns big enough. I don't have enough hair to make braids that big on the side of my face, and I don't have anything white except my wedding dress and, you know, like this one other thing." So yeah, very this is not my wedding dress, by the way, just to be clear. But anyway, hi Harmonica Man. It's good to see you. All right, so we're going to be talking bipolar triggers. And yeah, I know it's not Tuesday, it's Thursday. And I also understand that there is an absolutely awesome episode of Secular Sexuality going on right now. I'm not worried about coming up against anyone else. I just, something with St. Patrick's Day happened. And it was that I probably had one too many whiskey and cokes, although I can't really blame this on that because I do that. I do this all the time. And I didn't just dox Junk Shop, which I do a lot, which is not okay. And I'm trying really hard not to do that anymore. I doxed some people from my childhood, first and last name. So that's why that video has gone private. I'm going to try and learn how to edit it, but work's been crazy, so I haven't had a chance to learn. So that's what's going on with that. Now, let's talk about bipolar disorder, medication, self-medication. That looks terrible. My name is Julie. I'm not an alcoholic. I have done extensive research into that particular subject to make sure that I'm not. I genuinely thought I was for a year and a half. I absolutely thought that I was. I'm not going to get into that story. At the time, I was abusing alcohol to escape my life. And I had no diagnosis yet, and I had a lot of other things that were wrong. And I had one person in particular who had a lot of sway over me, telling me that I was an alcoholic. So started going to meetings. A year and a half into that, I had actually started talk therapy shortly before that. Eventually got a diagnosis, started getting on, you know, got on meds, was practicing cognitive behavioral therapy. I got a lot better and left the very bad parts of my life behind. And then very slowly and very carefully, and with several calls to some people who, you know, who are still in a program, you know, realized that I could drink. It was okay for me. I don't have to have it, but I do enjoy it. So it's nice that I can. So I feel very lucky for that. And Harmonica says, me too. I'm done for a long time now. Yeah. So yeah, it's complicated. Addiction is complicated. We see it in our culture in particular as very black and white, and that's not always the case. Now, granted, having said that, I will say there are lots of things I will not do. I've never tried heroin. I don't do extracurricular drugs anymore of any kind. I'm too old for that. There's too much weird shit up in here. I'm not messing with my brain chemistry anymore than it's already been messed with. And then on top of that, I'm terrified of doing anything illegal because at this point I have a more well-balanced sense of consequences, which is another nice perk of being a little more stable in my bipolar disorder. Now, having said that, we're going to talk about bipolar triggers. We're going to talk about things that can fuck up people like me. But I am in good company, and I've got a lot of good resources in the show notes. So please check those out if you're interested. One of them I've never gotten to see because I don't have HBO's streaming channel, so I just bought the book version. And I know Carrie Fisher's voice well enough that I could kind of hear it in my head, but I've never actually gotten to see her perform it. Wishful Drinking is a great book. Postcards from the Edge is a nonfiction book, but it's heavily autobiographical, and it is fantastic. I highly recommend it. I can also recommend the film that came out in the either very late 80s or very early 90s. Excellent, excellent movie. Excellent cast. I mean, everyone's in it. And yeah, it was just really well done. All right. So I was rewatching Stephen Fry's The Secret Life of a Manic Depressive, which I've watched before. It's a good limited documentary series that you can now watch for free on YouTube because it's been I want to say a good maybe 20 years since he did it. Might be slightly less, but it's something like that. It's very well done. It was done by the BBC. There is a follow-up documentary called The Not So Secret Life of Manic Depressives that the BBC did without Stephen Fry. I don't like it as much. I've only watched it once. I don't like it as much, not because he's not in it, but because they went back and revisited a lot of the people that they could. A lot of the regular folks. The thing is, Stephen Fry is Stephen Fry. He's a comedian. He's an actor. He's incredibly talented. He's made his living being an incredibly creative person and as a writer. Hey, my darling junk shop, how are you? And there does seem to be this weird correlation. Not causation necessarily. I don't know. It might be causation. I'm gonna be really careful how I talk here. The thing is, Stephen Fry is an international celebrity. His best friend since they were very, very, very young is Hugh Laurie, who unfortunately most Americans only know from the TV show House, which is a great show, and he was great in it. But he's Hugh freaking Laurie, man. Look him up. He's done a lot of other stuff. They did a comedy show together. They did, oh my God, such a great film with Emma Thompson and a lot of other, fantastic actors, called Peter's Friends in the 90s, which is really difficult to find now. It breaks my heart that Junk Shop has never seen it. I just happen to be just a teeny bit older than my partner, and also my ex was older than I, and so my ex was like, "Oh, you've never seen Peter's Friends? Oh my God, you have to see this movie," and had like a VHS copy of it, and we watched it, and he was right. It's a fantastic movie, and it really does break my heart that Junk Shop's never seen it, and one day I will track down a copy, hopefully on DVD. And we'll get to watch it. All right, so let's get on to the. Why was I talking about all of that? Oh, I was talking about all of that because this sort of adjunct, if you will, documentary that the BBC did without Stephen Fry 10 years on is kind of rough, and also they didn't have access to all of the people that he did, and he had access to a lot of very famous, very creative people because, again, he's a famous and creative person. I mean, these are his peers. It's not like he was name dropping up in there. Like these are friends of his. And one of the people that he interviewed is the late great Carrie Fisher, hence all of this, who was also once voted Bipolar Woman of the Year, who had it really bad. Like this was someone who accepted her diagnosis, who did everything up to and including electroshock treatment, electroshock therapy, ECT, to basically, destroyed her short-term memory for quite a bit, or for a chunk of her life, and still had a sense of humor about it. Like her I know this from reading her books, because I read her last nonfiction book too. The last one, I think it may have even been published posthumously, but it was the last one that she wrote, because she died at the slightly too young age of 69 of a heart attack. But she didn't let bipolar disorder take her down. That's not what took her out. Her heart, I don't know what to tell you about that, but she made it through as far as bipolar disorder goes. And like Stephen Fry, I too was in my 30s. Now he was 37 before he got a diagnosis. I was a wee bit younger. I was 33, I think, when I got diagnosed, maybe 32. I didn't accept it at first. Everyone I'd ever known who was bipolar had made my life harder, and that was not their fault. Well, wasn't, depending on who I'm. Okay, anyway, I'd met a lot of bipolar people who were young and not managing their disease. And it is a disease, and it's a chronic one. We live with it every day, all day, year in, year out. Hopefully we live with it. Mortality rates are tricky with bipolar disorder, because like I've heard numbers as small as 20% of people with it commit suicide. I've heard, as in the documentary I was just talking about. I've also, that may have just been in the UK, where at that time 4 million people were diagnosed with it. So in a larger country like mine, those numbers are going to get skewed. The numbers are also skewed by the fact that a lot of people can go through life either without access to mental health care, especially in the US, because we don't have an NHS. I've actually had a mental health care professional describe the healthcare laws, the mental health care laws, rather, particularly those defining when someone is a danger to themselves or others, as negligent. Like, full-on negligent was the word this person used. So we're, in the South in particular, mental health is not, people down here, honestly, it depends on who you talk to, but you could just as easily find somebody on the street who thinks that mental illness is a sign of demon possession, as much as you will also find very rational people who are like, oh no, you have to take care of your mental health. You have to. It's important. So there are people who get it. There are people who don't. There are, and there's a whole mix in between. So yeah. But yeah. So anyway, let's see. I'm not touching that comment with a 10-foot pole, but that's awful. I'm so sorry. No one should have ever say that to a child. That's terrible. All right. So when I was diagnosed by an older psychiatrist, and this is, I think, the DSM, it was either 4 or 5 at the time. A newer version was out now, and he even said when he gave me the diagnosis of bipolar 2, he said, now we don't really call it that anymore. It's a spectrum, and it is, but also everything's kind of a spectrum right now. So I'm older. It's easier for me to think of it this way. But luckily I had worked as a technical writer for a psychiatric journal, so I knew what that meant. So that was a huge sigh of relief for me, because whether you're working on a 0 to 100 scale in terms of a spectrum of how bipolar someone is or how affected by their disorder they are. Being bipolar 1 is more difficult than being bipolar 2. And it can be it's more detrimental to your quality of life. There are a lot of people out there who are underperforming in terms of what they could be doing if they weren't bipolar, or if they have better access to mental health care. Because one of the first things that any psychiatrist, therapist, and frankly, bipolar person who has any kind of handle on their situation will tell you is one of the things you have to do if you want to control this disease, or that you should do if you want to control this disease, is reduce your level of stress. Unfortunately, a lot of people who have it are also overachievers. They like to work hard. And a really common, very, very common experience of mania is spending money that you shouldn't spend. Now, that's not to say that, there are plenty of poor people with bipolar disorder. I've known people with bipolar disorder who will send me exhaustive lists of, hey, I ended up with 20 extra bucks and here's all of the, naughty snack food I bought with it. And it really is extensive. And it's like, okay, well, you're manic right now, but hey, that's fine. I mean, they're not out there buying sports cars. But people who have the money sometimes do. Or they buy houses, or, other expensive things. I mean, I do it. I do it when I'm manic. That's when I tend to spend money. The rest of the time, I'm frugal almost to a fault. But yeah, then there are those times when I'm so not. And luckily for me, I've never had enough money for it to get me into trouble. So fingers crossed, All right. So I made a lot of notes for this episode, and I really do want to follow them because I spent a lot of last night with insomnia, unable to sleep, even though I needed to be up very early and work all day, which I did. But I only got about not quite 4 hours of sleep last night because after working an 11-hour day and being bone tired, and a big part of that 11-hour day was walking around a factory in very heavy work boots with stainless steel toes and stainless steel metacarpal plates, protection plates, in case like something rolls over your foot. Hopefully it'll get just horribly bruised and it won't crush the metacarpal bones in your feet. Having broken one very small one of those in one of my feet once, I can tell you that is no fun. So I did that. I came home, everything hurt. My back hurt, my neck hurt, my shoulder hurt. And my feet were just unforgiving. They were just screaming at me. So I got out all of my gear. I had definitely put in a good day's work. I mean, I could I could with all good conscience say, I put in a damn fine, good day's work today. I'm done. And it was also way past, quitting time for me anyway. So So, been there. Yeah. Like I said, Oh, the VA is trying to take care of your mental health. I let me know how that goes, Harmonica Man. It really can it can depend on where you are. It can depend on a lot of things, but the VA is it's rough because a lot of the people that I've met because of my best friend, and because my best friend worked for the VA, and her dad worked for the VA, and they both volunteered there. So I have volunteered it once, and not trying to virtue signal here. I did it once. But I volunteered at the VA here, and the people, the nurses and the staff and the doctors, they cared. Like you could see it writ large on their very stressed out and lined faces. but you could also tell that they were dealing with a lot of things and that they were not prepared to deal with, probably due to financial stuff. But I'm not going to speak any more about that because I don't know enough to do so. So let me get back on topic. I'm sorry. Okay, so yeah, so for me, the diagnosis of bipolar 2 instead of bipolar 1, that really meant a lot. It meant a lot for my own personal sense of well-being. Don't do this. It's stupid. I'm trying to not do this on streams anymore and not do it as much in real life. But I have used cigarettes as a way to deal with anxiety since I was 18. It was legal to buy them when you were 18, when I was 18 here. It's 21 now, which I think is a good idea. This is also from my best friend. Classic naughty mud trucker mud flat, but with fairy wings. How cool is that? All right. Anyway. So like a lot of people with bipolar disorder, I had creative pursuits. I still do. I have to be creative. I love writing for a living. I love getting excited about the science or the manufacturing or the whatever it is that I'm writing about. I wanted to be a creative writer. That was my goal a million years ago when I got 2 degrees in creative writing and in fine arts, and then quickly discovered that it was really difficult to pay bills with that. Like, that was hard. So yeah. So yeah, speaking of writers, we've got one in the chat, and yes, Harmonica Man, I'm still going to review your book. All right, so what I have is often considered as I'm lucky. It's a slightly less aggressive form. Not to say that it doesn't often, usually weekly, mess up my life a little bit, which is one of the reasons, going back to the reduction of stress thing, that I took a job where I do have to occasionally put in those 10 or 11 or plus hour days, and I do have to walk around the factory a lot. But for most of the week, I get to work from home, and that helps. That helps a lot. Okay, so also, like Stephen Fry, I've had it all of my life. I distinctly remember from sometime not long before kindergarten, so I was probably about 4 years old, and I remember being enraged. Don't know why. Don't remember why. I ran into my parents' bedroom, which was not normal. That was a room. My parents were good about setting boundaries for themselves that were healthy, and I think healthy for the rest of us too. Like, I mean, you could come into their room if you needed them, but you had to knock on the door. In the daytime, that door was always open. When they went to bed at night, you did not bother them unless someone was bleeding copiously or someone was breaking into the house. Those were the rules. Like, and I think that was good for them because they had 4 children and they had 3 in very short order when they were very young. And I think that was good for their relationship. But to move on from my parents' relationship, because that's starting to get, but yay, I exist. I remember running into their room, which wasn't normal, slamming the door behind me, which was not normal, and grabbing this pink ceramic pitcher, that PITCHR pitcher that my mother had. It wasn't used for anything. It was just kind of a tchotchke, but it was really pretty. And I remember grabbing it. And at the time, this was before we had carpeting in the house, and I hurled it like a bowling ball. I was 4, but it was ceramic. It was pretty light. I hurled it across with my tiny 4-year-old arm across the the hardwood floor, and it broke against the wall. The handle snapped off and it broke into about 4 good pieces, big good pieces. And then I wasn't angry anymore. I was terrified. And I sat down really fast and I scooted back on my heels until my back was against the bedroom door, because I was absolutely terrified for when my parents were going to come in and see what I had done and be angry, and I would probably get yelled at and definitely get a spanking. I mean, you didn't just break shit. That was not okay. I don't remember what happened after that. I just remember feeling my heartbeat and being very aware of that, and that was scary. So that and I remember feeling like I couldn't breathe. So I'm wondering now, when I was writing about this last night, I thought, oh my gosh, was that my first panic attack when I was 4? Because those are the symptoms of a panic attack, and that's what it feels like. And I don't remember anything afterwards. And like I said, I don't remember what set me off to begin with. And then my whole childhood was like that. This was not like a terrible twos temper tantrum. This was something that just happened and that I had to learn to control, because I learned very quickly that it was not okay. I couldn't be out in public and just start screaming, but sometimes I would. I remember playing miniature golf and having the best time. And every time I missed a hole, I would I would bang on the freaking AstroTurf with my club and like yell and shout and stuff. But I had a blast. I thought about it years later and I was like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. Why was I acting like that? Well, I can tell you now, I was manic. I was absolutely manic. And my friends even knew, like my childhood friends even knew that, I had a temper, and I had these places where I would hit a wall and I wouldn't know why. And I'd start screaming and crying and being very upset, and I would just have to go away. Usually, and sometimes it was brought on by overstimulus, like if things were too loud, but things were always too loud. I don't know. So, yep. So all of that happened. I mean, again, like all of these memories, this is all hindsight. I didn't realize what was wrong with me. I just thought that people would describe me as being opinionated, but they'd say that like adults would, but they'd say that as a good thing. Or they'd say like, you have a lot of opinions, like you think about things, was the sort of subtext that I took from that. Maybe I was misreading it, but yeah, I wasn't shy to say what I thought, and didn't win me a lot of friends at school, I can tell you that. I mean, I was nice to other kids at school, and eventually I did have a lot of friends, but yeah, there was there were a few years there where I could literally count my school friends on one finger on one hand. So yeah, let's see. Oh yeah, and since that poor pink ceramic pitcher, I have broken a lot more dishes. Since I got diagnosed, and since I started seeing, since I did CBT therapy, and now I see a talk therapist once a week, and I see my psychiatrist. It used to be every 3 months, but I've been so stable for so long now that I got to go up. And also the pandemic had a lot to do with this too. I told him I got laid off, and he was like, how about every 6 months? You're good, right? I mean, we've been seeing each other for what, over 2 years? You're good. I've never had to be hospitalized, or in the UK, they'd say sectioned. That's never happened, either voluntarily or involuntarily. I came close, and I can tell you there was definitely one time when I should have been, and I knew it, and I just didn't tell anyone. So there's that. I have definitely, absolutely, as I mentioned earlier, with alcohol in my 20s, I absolutely have self-medicated. I absolutely have made incredibly stupid and spontaneous and ill thought out, not thought out at all, actually. Impulsive is the word I was looking for. Decisions. And yeah, it's, and I don't know, again, because it's been with me my whole life, I honestly don't know how much of it is me. Or I don't know let me rephrase. I don't know where I stop and the bipolar disorder begins. And it does run in families, and it did play a part. I mean, my siblings look at me like I have three heads because I don't have children. And I'm like, oh, I have so very many reasons. And they think they have them all figured out. This is one of them. You know, I definitely have, I mean, I can trace some of the other things that I have to relatives who are still living, you know, of whom I'm a direct descendant. I did have a relative who was institutionalized in Louisville. Shouldn't have said that, but anyway, for most of her life, I don't know her name, and this was also back in the 1920s, so I'm really not worried about doxing anybody. She's long dead, but so that definitely happened. Back then, they wouldn't have called it. They wouldn't. I don't know if they even would have called it manic depression at that point. She would have been just as likely to get diagnosed with something like hysteria, but certainly disorders of the nervous persuasion run in the family. That's for sure. And I have had. This is gonna get fun here in a second. Oh yeah. Wait, no, I didn't mean to pull that up again. I'm sorry. Harmonica Man. Oh man, I don't even know where that is. This is gonna. You have a good team. Oh yes, fantastic. I am so glad you have a good team. That is fantastic. Yeah, yeah. And it is it takes a team. What? Okay, for anyone watching this in the future who doesn't know to what Harmonica Man is referring, a lot of us who have mental health issues, we do refer to the people that help us lead productive, normal, you know, as fulfilling as we can lives as our team, because we need them. I need my therapist. I need my psychiatrist. I need Junk Shop Library. I need my friends. All of these people are part of my team. They all know what I have. They under the folks who don't. I have some friends who don't have. I have a couple of friends who have not many actually, because it seems like, you know, everybody has experienced depression or anxiety at some point, so they may not understand the extent of it, but they, you know. And then I have bipolar friends as well, and they definitely get it. I have friends who struggle with anxiety to where it has limited their life on occasion, and sometimes continues to do so. So yeah, they're, you know, those folks get it. They get it. If they don't get exactly what I'm going through, they understand the why does my brain hate me feeling. You know, they're like, why is this so hard for me when it seems to be so easy for everyone else? And I do talk a very good game. I'm constantly saying, you know, take your meds, see your therapist, and you'll be okay. I can't guarantee that, and I'm not a mental health care professional, and I should have said that like 10 seconds into this video. You know, I'm a technical writer. I'm not a, you know, I know what I know from being a technical writer at a psychiatric journal, from reading a lot of books, watching a lot of documentaries about mental illness in general, past, present, so on. And many of which are listed, or a few of my favorites are listed in the description. And yeah, another one is Madness. That's a great book, Madness, A Bipolar Life. That's a great book. There's a link to it in the description. That's an autobiography or a memoir. Yeah, so it's what was I saying? Sorry, this is why I have notes. Oh yeah, so I can I meds every day, therapy every week. Understanding that self-awareness is a daily practice. And I have to watch myself so closely when I'm manic. I've only in the last few years developed the ability to even discern when I'm manic. And when I am, I have to go, okay, I know what this is, and it's fine, and it's going to be a hell of a lot of fun. Because let's face it, one reason why bipolar people often don't get diagnosed for so long is because we don't go to see a doctor when we're manic. When you're manic, everything's amazing. Everything's amazing. Everyone is amazing. The world is amazing, and everything that's wrong about the world, by God, I'm gonna fix it. Yeah, I'll absolutely thought I was, religious indoctrination played into this a lot, but yeah, I absolutely thought that I was, you know, uh, put on this earth for a higher purpose several times in my life. That I was here to fight some great battle between good and evil, or here to, do something grandiose and crazy. I don't even like to, honestly, I don't even like to talk about it because it's embarrassing. I literally thought I could do magic into my 30s. And I hate to alienate our neo-pagan allies out there, because atheists, we need all the allies we can get, and neo-pagans are freaking awesome. They're cool. They don't care if you don't believe. And I don't care that they believe. I care that I did, because I thought I could alter reality. That's very dangerous for someone like me. My feet need to be firmly on the ground, and I need to be as connected to what I can observe as I can, because I can't always trust this, and I can't always trust what my eyes are telling me either. I have hallucinated. That's not uncommon with bipolar disorder. I believed in fairies, for fuck's sake, because I thought I saw one on more than one occasion. Thought I had good reason to. Heads up, they don't exist. We would have found one by now and probably dissected it. But yeah, no, I'm sorry. Sorry, everybody. Sorry, not sorry, really, though. Really. If you're an adult and you still believe in fairies, you need to wake the fuck up and realize that reality is the thing. The first time I was suicidal, I was 6 years old. I wanted to kill myself because everyone in my class hated me, and I was being teased and bullied relentlessly. And I wanted to not only kill myself, I wanted to write a suicide note implicating each and every one of them for specific abuses by name. So I was spiteful as fuck as a 6-year-old. Yeah, I remember that very specifically. There was a lot of anger behind it, mixed in with that despair, which might have actually been a mixed state, which is where you're depressed, but you're also just hyper enough, or just manic enough rather, to be able to do something about it. And that's a dangerous state, again, for bipolar people. Mixed states are very dangerous. Depression plus energy can lead to really dangerous behavior. Luckily, I didn't do anything about it. And in part, as much as I love to bash my religious indoctrination growing up, I have it to thank for this. There were, on more than one occasion in my childhood, adolescent, and teenage years, when I had suicidal ideation, I reminded myself that, because I was raised Catholic, and I reminded myself of two things. One, that was, I wouldn't be able to confess it, so I would go to hell for murdering myself. And I, yeah, your sister too. That actually makes me feel a little better, Harmonica Man. Thank you. I feel a little less weird for admitting the fairy thing. And then I also couldn't stand the notion of my mom finding me dead. She's always been, she can be incredibly strong when she has to be, but when she doesn't have to be, she is incredibly fragile at the same time. And so I try to, there's so many things about her that I admire: her compassion, her kindness, there are a lot about things about her that I don't. She pretty much runs on fear and anxiety, and unfortunately, that's led her to, fear a lot of the world and a lot of people in the world that she could be enjoying and doing things, and she won't. I mean, she's never been out of the U.S. because she's scared to fly over an ocean, and that's sad. So, I mean, whatever. She's older now. I think she's fine, but okay. But mania, like I said, not only fun, it can be freakishly productive. I did a 3-year Master of Fine Arts program in creative writing in 2.5 years, and I did that with a 3.987 GPA. That means I made 1 A- and 1 B+, and the rest were all A's or A+. But I also didn't sleep more than 3 hours a night for 2.5 years. And this is before my diagnosis. This was before any kind of medication. I was batshit crazy. But I did it. I also learned how to teach and did teach in that time. Wrote a thesis, defended it. Wrote 155 page. I said odd like I didn't know. I know exactly how many fucking pages are in that thing. I worked on it for 2.5 years. 155 page anthology of short stories. For my master's thesis, and jumped through all the hoops, did all the things, fell in love with teaching. Teaching is there's a performance aspect to it that I really enjoy, and yeah, I would stay up until we'd get out of class finally at almost all the classes were 3-hour classes. So we get out of a class from started at 5:30 at 8:30, and then we'd all walk over to the college bar that was that's right near the university we all went to in the program. And then we'd sit down and we'd order dinner and we'd all start drinking and we'd talk about our work and we'd talk about, hey, you should submit this story to this magazine. You should submit this story to this journal because they like that kind of stuff. And we were all just, it was a really good group of people. I'm still in touch with a lot of them because we really did, we didn't have time to see anyone else. So, I mean, we barely had time to see significant others. I mean, it was, yeah. So it was fun and it was amazing. And it's still to this day, I was the first person in my family to graduate from college. So to get a master's degree like that and to do it that well, yeah, I'm fucking proud of that. And my mania is part of how I did it the way that I did. However, I have a lot of colleagues and a lot of friends from that time who did the same thing and did very well and are still doing very well for themselves. And they didn't nearly kill themselves doing it. And by that, I mean through exhaustion, not eating, making very poor choices about how late one can stay up before one has to go teach an 8 a.m. class. And then take classes and then teach more later and all of that. Okay, so, and then Tuesday night, St. Patrick's Day, or the day before St. Patrick's Day. Yesterday was St. Patrick's Day, but this past Tuesday night, I was manic. If you saw me bomb in on Godless Granny's stream, I've already apologized to her for that privately. I am forgiven. But yeah, that was me manic. And like I said, I did my stream about St. Patrick's Day and about what it means to Americans like myself who have a lot of Irish heritage, and it all dates back to the Great Starvation. It's not the fucking potato famine, okay? The food was there. The Irish just weren't allowed to buy or eat it. It's a whole. Watch the Citation Needed episode this week. From this week, yeah. The blight was barely anything. roughly 1 million Irish people died. Everybody else who could got the fuck out of there because it was that bad. Anyway, it was essentially what happens when you have rich people who are completely just morally couldn't give a single fuck whether people starve to death or not, and or have a way of making a living or not. I mean, one guy tried to help, and he had to do it like he was a politician, so he had to do it on the sly. And when people found out, he lost his position in Parliament. It was okay, fine. Anyway, go watch the Citation Needed episode, or listen rather to the Citation Needed episodes podcast. It's fantastic. It's on Spotify. It's all over the place. Just check it out. It's amazing. But I went on to Granny's thing. Hey, Junie. Oh, no worries. I never stream on Thursday nights. No worries. I'm just trying to make up for how random and shit my content's been lately. And last night I was thinking about how manic I was on Tuesday, and then today I woke up really depressed and it was hard to get out of bed. And I thought, you know what? I need to talk about being bipolar, because I'm constantly talking about how well I manage it, and I do, but I do for a bipolar person, and that's, you know, that's kind of something I kind of want to shed a little light on if I can. Is that, like, I don't want a bipolar person to watch my channel and go, well, that bitch says she's got it all together. It's like, no, I do not. I do not. It's a lot, and it takes a toll. So, okay, so Tuesday night, I was manic. I went on to the wrong fundraiser, promising the wrong thing. And by the way, the other fundraiser, we don't even know if it's going to happen yet or not. I haven't heard back. And without the person's consent, and I've sent a few messages now, Harmonica Man. Not to Harmonica Man, but he and I have been working on this together. Nope, no word yet. So that's all I'm going to say about it right now. And I feel weird. I don't think we can do it without consent, because it's kind of personal. So okay, so anyway, I don't know. I am conflicted, sir. I'm conflicted about but I was so embarrassed after I was so manic, and so many of y'all in the community saw me being so manic Tuesday night, even if it was just for a moment, or if you were, you know, if you came to my stream that night that I had to make private because I doxed people, not intentionally. I was so embarrassed. I very nearly, and then I swung so far the other way that by Wednesday I was depressed, and I was seriously considering deleting my YouTube channel. So that is not going to happen. I'm better now. But yeah, you know, it's a struggle. And even with all of the help and if you watch the Stephen Fry documentary, you're going to notice a gentleman named Rob. And you'll remember Rob because he has some pretty intense scarring on his legs from when he a time when he was sectioned, which is hospitalized, you know, because you're a danger to yourself or others. That's British NHS speak for that, as being sectioned. And he managed to just walk out one day. He wasn't supposed to. He was supposed to be on a locked ward, but, you know, people are people. Everybody's human, and shit happens, and he just kind of wandered out and purposefully walked in front of a bus. He also is completely convinced that he has spoken to angels on many occasions. He believes that his bipolar disorder allows him to see through the veil into the supernatural world. And I'm watching this interview And the first time I watched this documentary, I was younger and I believed in gods and goddesses and fairies and a lot of things that I no longer believe in. And I thought, well, that's a lot, Rob. That's intense. But I mean, he's happy. He seems so now. He's a very pleasant person. He's a lovely human being. I mean, I would get a cup of coffee with him for sure. But this time watching it, I just felt immensely sad. I felt so sad that he was so out of touch with reality, and what made him happiest were things that were these grandiose, again, ideas. I mean, this is a man who at one point when he was much, much younger, and he knows he's not now, he's better now, but he thought he was Jesus at one point. So again, there's this grandiose thing. I mean, like I said, I thought I was put on this earth for a very special purpose. I thought I was going to play some kind of role in the, in an apocalyptic end of the world scenario sort of thing. So this is something that people do who are bipolar. It's very common. Harmonica Man says, oh yeah, you haven't gotten word in it. Yeah, good enough. My clinical depression and suicidal, homicidal thoughts keep me either too energetic or immobile. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Unfortunately, I'm so sorry. I hate that you go through that too, but I feel you. I understand. And yeah, I am proud to say that I have not cut myself in years. I used to do that when things got too emotionally intense. I don't know why. And this is I was a bit atypical. I never did this. I did other forms of self-harm. I mean, technically biting your fingernails to the quick is a form of self-harm, and I'm not going to stay on this topic long because I know I should have said, hey, trigger warning, about to say something about self-harm. I'm not going to go into any details. I'm not going to say anything specific. I'm not trying to traumatize anybody tonight or make them revisit their trauma. So there are gradations of self-harm is my point. Hey, Maya, good to see you, darling. Luckily for me, I started that late, and therefore it was easier for me to stop. One of the reasons it's so hard for me to quit these damn things is that they are a maladaptive coping mechanism for me. They calm me down, they chill me out. They when I need to think, I sit down, I have a cigarette, I think. They kind of help me be present and mindful when I need to be. They wake me up when I'm tired. They calm me down when I'm freaked out. It's unfortunate. And one of the reasons why I'm not into trying addictive illegal substances or even addictive legal substances, except for the one time when I had my gallbladder out. I've never had opioids, and I really I'm not saying that like, oh, I tough shit out. No, I would take them. I took them when I had surgery, but I literally 8 days worth, or maybe 6 days worth. I'm not sure. I don't remember. It was also the first time I was ever under general anesthesia, so the first 3 days of that are a blur anyway. But yeah, I needed them. I was in a lot of pain. They had removed an organ from my body, and a robot had gone in through laparoscopically through 5 different small incisions, which is nice in terms of the scars that you have left are very small. But they basically went in laparoscopically and very carefully removed the organ and all of the stones, and hopefully they got all of them, because every once in a while one can slip away and just kind of float around in your body, and usually it does nothing, but every once in a while it gets somewhere it shouldn't, and then it's like, ow. But yeah, anyway, all of which is to say that going through that, I was really happy for those 6 Percocet that they gave me. I didn't want any more after that. In part because they worked so well, and in part because I liked them a lot. I'm not gonna lie, that I liked them a lot. But no, I don't. I got prescribed Lortab for a sprained ankle once, and I was like, no, thank you. They just made me sick, and like literally sick. Like they made me nauseous and stuff, and they didn't really help. They kind of help with the ankle pain, but so did Excedrin. So I don't think it was worth it. Anyway, all of which is to say, I know maladaptive coping mechanisms. I know about self-medication. I've done it before. I did it with weed for years. I did it with alcohol for a while. Now I'm in a safe place with alcohol, and I don't smoke weed anymore because it's illegal where I live. If it wasn't, we might be having a slightly different conversation, because I certainly don't see anything morally wrong with it. Once your brain's fully developed, you're good to go on that. These are terrible for me. So if I could safely, without endangering my well-being or anyone else's, have marijuana once in a while instead of tobacco, I would absolutely switch over. And now I'm getting off on weird tangents, but I did want to touch on self-medication. Almost everyone with bipolar disorder does it. Almost everyone with depression does it. And almost everyone with anxiety and PTSD has done it. So be careful. I know all y'all that are in here right now, I know you're fine. But if anybody's watching this later on, just watch yourself. If it starts to get weird, if it starts to get bad, if it starts to interfere with your ability to make a living or to keep up your interpersonal relationships or to be kind to yourself or other people, if it starts to hurt instead of help, stop doing it. And I know it's really easy to fucking say that, but you can. And there is help. There is help out there. It can be hard to find, and it can seem like there's not, but there is. There always is. So yeah, not gonna cancel my YouTube channel. That was an overreaction from being freaked out because I was manic Tuesday and then depressed on Wednesday. Kind of depressed today. But I really do want to point out, the reason I brought up Rob from the documentary is because, and brought up my old beliefs about fairies and gods and goddesses, and I thought I could actually bend reality to my will by doing spells. I really needed to be an atheist, and I'm so happy that I figured out that I was one. So happy, because that one thing, and by the way, when I say this, please do not take what I say and turn it. I don't think any of you, again, in the chat would, but please don't take this to mean that I'm saying everyone who has religious beliefs is crazy. Almost everyone in my life has religious beliefs, and I've got a lot of wonderful neo-pagan friends. And Ocean Keltoy is not crazy. Okay, he's fine. He is fine. He's lovely. Appalachian Witch, or I'm sorry, her name changes sometimes, but anyway, y'all have seen her on Twitter probably. She is an awesome human being, and she's not crazy. S.J. Tucker is one of my favorite musicians. She's a neo-pagan down in Arkansas, and she's a badass. Check her out. Look up her music. It's really good. Yeah, it's not good for me. I can't do that. I was married, but Junk Shop and I were married by practicing neo-pagans. And they asked us, do you want anything in the, about any higher powers in the ceremony? And we said, let's just leave God out of it. Because I was kind of on the fence, and Junk Shop was already an atheist, and I was like, nah, this is not. So we didn't, and it was awesome. It was great. And they were fine with it. And my matron of honor is a neo-pagan. She is not, she's not, none of these people are out of touch with reality. But I was, and I was for a really long time. And that was not good for me. So this has been the, if you'll forgive the term, blessing of atheism for me, is the moment that I really took those beliefs out to the woodshed and gave them a good thrashing and a good going over, critically thinking, speaking, and realized that mine were all silly and ridiculous, suddenly dealing with my bipolar disorder became so much easier. You know how much easier it is to deal with bipolar disorder and mania, depression, and anxiety when you don't believe in ghosts or demons? It's a lot fucking easier, is all I'm saying. So I'm not saying that everyone who believes and has a religious belief has a mental illness. I'm not saying that at all. But for me, it was not good, and I'm very, very grateful that I got away from it, because I've been a hell of a lot happier. And even as I told you tonight, I had rapid cycling this week: manic Tuesday, depressed Wednesday, and most of today. Still got my work done. It took longer than it should have, but that's okay. I'm salaried. That's why I'm a salaried employee, so that's all right. But I got it done, and that's the important thing. Okay, so did I hit on everything? I'm just checking my notes. I got my pretty green and gold journal here. It's nice. Okay. So yeah, it's basically, yeah. One of the gifts that atheism has given me is the ability to have a better grasp on reality. I can play D&D, but I don't think it's real. Now, I never thought Dungeons and Dragons was real, but I did think magic was real. And like I said, I thought I could do it. I thought I was a supernatural being. Just let that hang out in your heads for a second. It's kind of disturbing, isn't it? Yeah. Also known as grandiose thinking. Okay. Yeah, so I thought marriage was real. I do think marriage is real. Sorry. Magic. That's the word. I thought magic was real. Fairies, ghosts, gods, goddesses. I thought witchcraft was real. I thought, I truly believed I could bend reality to my will. Now I'm repeating myself, so we'll be finished here soon. And the last thing I want to say is, and it's just a quick note, because y'all know I'm not having any kids, but this is one of the reasons. This does run in families. It's hereditary. You can't see bipolar disorder on an MRI scan, unfortunately. Not yet. I'm really hoping. I think that's still true. Maybe it's already changed. Who knows? I don't know. I'm not into neuroscience. Anybody who's studying neuroscience, let me know in the comments if we can see any of this stuff on MRI scans yet, because that would be amazing. Or if we're anywhere near inventing a scan that could see this, because that would be good information to have. Oh, Junie, the apostate. Yeah, D&D it seems intimidating because there's all these books and there's all this information and all that. And I didn't play for years. Really for decades, because I was intimidated by all of that. But it's really not that hard. It's really not. Like, basically, once you learn, like, just listen to there's a great atheist D&D podcast called D&D Minus, and the Scathing Atheist guys do it. And Anna Bosnick, Eli Bosnick's wife, plays one of the characters. And it's Anna, Heath, Eli, Noah, and their sound engineer, Morgan. And they're great. So check out D&D Minus. It's a lot of fun, and it'll give you an idea of how the play goes. And the funny thing is if you listen to it from episode 1, Heath and Morgan had never played before and had no idea what they were doing. So you get that experience of listening to people who are just like, they just want to tell a story together and have a good time together. It's collaborative storytelling. That's all it is. And it's so much fun. And so, it's fun. It's fun when you make mistakes. It's fun. It's awesome to roll a natural 1, which is like the worst roll in the game. But when you do that, something crazy happens, because it's an automatic horrendous fail. And it happens to anyone. If the DM is rolling for an enemy and that enemy rolls a natural 1, he's more likely to kill himself by accident than you. And usually in a really funny or really bizarre or really messed up way, depending on what kind of game it is. And yeah, so it can be as complicated essentially as you want it to be. You can be one of those folks who collects all the books and reads them all. I tend to collect them. I don't read them as much as I should. But it's, it's not, my point is it's not as hard as it seems, and it's a lot of fun. If you have a group of friends you want to hang out with who want to do it, it's fun. You just the only person who really needs to know, have a decent working knowledge of at least most of the game mechanics and have the resources to look something up when they don't know is the dungeon master. That's the DM. And I actually found that, like lots of things, I like being a DM. I like running games almost more than I like playing in them. But actually, One Ring 42 I'm so in love with the character I made for his game that I never want to give that up. I'm never gonna give you up, L slash. It's you and me forever. I'm gonna get a tattoo of her pet rat somewhere on me. All right. Well, I think I've nattered on long enough. I want to. Oh wow, yeah, it's been over an hour for an unscheduled night too. So thank you all for coming. Like I said, you want to know more about bipolar? I was a little nervous doing this. I only stutter when I'm nervous. So there you go. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for being open-minded. Please remember, just because someone says they have a mental illness, it doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that they're dangerous. Some people are, some of us are, and some of us have been and no longer are. I was never dangerous to other people, but I was very much a danger to myself more times than I care to relate, frankly. And I'm so glad that I'm still here. So, like Junk Shop says or like it says on one of Junk Shop's t-shirts, and was said by someone in his chat their chat once. I just misgendered my partner. Holy fucking shit. I'm going to end this before I fuck shit up. All right. Anyway, we're still here, so we win. Right? And I want to wish all of you good mental health. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, Junie. Thank you, Harmonica Man. Thank you, my love Junk Shop, for being here tonight. And take care of yourselves. Be mindful. Take a moment to just be. Mental health issues aside, we've all been through hell this last year or so. So everybody just take a deep breath. Get a foot massage if that's your thing. Hot bath if that's your thing. Whatever your thing is, do that. And with that, I'll say, remember, you won't find truth in wine, but you can find it in reason. Love from Memphis, y'all.